Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Now I want to say a special welcome to Owen Graham. Owen's one of my relatives. I am Owen's auntie and he messaged me a while ago and he said that he loved my channel and he watches my channel every time. And Owen's a youngster. I'm going to say he's 12. He might not be. I'm sorry if I've got your age wrong. But anyway, when Owen leaves school, he wants to be a YouTuber. But Owen, you can be a YouTuber before you leave school. There's lots of youngsters younger than you that are on YouTube anyway. But it's great that the youngsters just support their family as well, don't they? So Owen, thank you so much. Thank you so much for subscribing to your auntie's channel. I really appreciate it. And for everyone else, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, then just click on the subscribe button, and if you click on the bell icon, YouTube will tell you when I put up another video. But even if you just want to subscribe, come on, the rest of my Owen's mum, Owen's dad, come on. Get subscribing to the channel. The young ones are just showing you all up here. So Owen, thank you so much, and I do know that you get notifications and you watch every single video of mine that comes up, and it's absolutely amazing. It really is. Thank you so much, Owen. So today I'm going to show you how to make this. This is a beautiful sort of V clustered blanket, and it's got these lovely little fans in the middle. The stitch count for this is 10. So you'll do your foundation chain in sets of 10, and then you'll add 3 stitches at the end. I've used this yarn so you can see it in different shades. It really shows up in the lighter colours. But if you want, a lot of ladies are saying to me, my man wants a blanket. This is what it looks like in darker colours. A lot of men, they just like the darker colours. So do a lot of women, right enough. But it shows you what it's like in the different colours. And I've used this yarn. This is an ice yarn and it's Magic Light. Now there's no number on here to tell you what shade this is. You just look for ice yarn and then you type in Magic Light and you'll get all the different colours that it comes in. It comes in a nice pretty pink as well. I've got some that's a pretty pink that I've wound up on a wool winder. I'm going to use that for my sample. So with this yarn, there's 100 grams in the ball. It's 360 metres. It tells you to use a US 6 or 7 crochet hook. That's a UK 4 or 5 and a UK 4 or 4.5. And the weight of the yarn is 3. And in the UK, that's like a double knitting yarn. It's really nice to work with this. I really like all these beautiful shades of blue in this. It shows the pattern up, what it would look like with different shades of yarn. So I'm going to show you how to do it. The stitch count for this is 10. So you'll do it in set. You'll do your foundation chain in sets of 10. This one that I've got is 80 stitches plus an extra 3 at the end. So my one is 80 stitches and it's quite wide. It's quite wide. It's big enough to go over your knees for a knee or a lap blanket. So I'm going to show you how to do this lovely little V-stitch fan cluster blanket. Anyway, let's get on with this. So I'm going to do a foundation chain and I'm going to do my chain. I'm going to do it in sets of 10. Now that other blanket I just showed you that I'm working on, that's got 80 stitches and then you'll add an extra 3 at the end. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So keep doing your foundation chain in sets of 10. If you don't know how many stitches to do it, get a measuring tape out, and if you say, right, okay, I want it 30 inches wide, do your foundation chain in sets of 10 until it's 30 inches wide, or whatever one it is you want. So I've got my foundation chain done. Look how smooth that chain is with that hook. I do notice a big difference in it. So I'm going to bring the camera down just a little bit. Now I'm going to do an extra 3 stitches. 1, 2 and 3. Now bear with me with this. Once we get this foundation row done, the rest of it becomes a lot easier once we've done all the little parts of the stitch. Now if you're a beginner, get your yarn, get your hook and just follow along at the same time. Pause the video if you have to and then just restart it again when you're ready. So we're going to be working with UK treble crochets. If you're in the USA, these are double crochets for you. We're going to go into the 5th stitch in this chain, so don't count the loop on the hook, count the stitches you've already got made. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now into that 5th stitch we're going to put 2 treble crochets. So that's 1 and 2. So I've got my first little V-stitch made. Now a V-stitch can either have a chain in the middle of each of these stitches or just be your 2 treble crochets. So we've got our first one done. So we're going to skip 1 stitch and we're going to do that little cluster into the next stitch again. So 2 treble crochets into that one. That's 1 and 2. So this is what you've got so far. So now what you're going to do is you're going to chain 2, 1, 2. Now that little bit is for the end of the blanket. You're going to have 2 of these little V's and that treble crochet at this side and the same at the other side. So bear with me doing this foundation chain. So you're going to chain 2 and you're going to skip 2, 1, 2. Now into the next stitch you're going to do a UK double crochet. If you're in the USA, that's a single crochet. So into this next stitch you're going to do a double crochet, then chain 2, 1, 2 and do another double crochet into that same stitch. So you've got this little bobbly looking part. That's where you're going to put your fan in on the next row. Chain 2, 1, 2, skip 2, 1, 2 and then into this one you're going to do your 2 treble crochets, that little V stitch. That's 1 and 2. Skip 1 stitch and then do your V stitch. Call it a V stitch because it's a little easier to remember. Skip 1 stitch and do 1 more V stitch into the next stitch. So 1 and 2. And this is what you've got. So that's what it looks like. You're going to chain 2, 1, 2. We're going to do that part there again. This little part here looks like a little bow. We're going to do that part next. Skip 2, 1, 2 and into the next stitch do a double crochet. Chain 2, 1, 2 and into the same stitch do another double crochet. Chain 2, 1, 2, skip 2, 1, 2 and then do that little V stitch into the next stitch. That's 1 and 2. So we're going to do 3 sets of these. Skip 1 stitch and do another V stitch. Skip 1 stitch and do another V stitch. And 2. So you're going to chain 2, 1, 2, skip 2 and then do a double crochet into that 3rd stitch. chain 2, 1, 2, we're going to make that little cluster down there and do a double crochet into that stitch, chain 2, 1, 2, skip 2, and then we'll do our 3 sets of V stitches. So that's 2 UK treble crochets, skip 1, do your next set, that's my second set, skip 1 and do the third set. That's 1 and 2. Now you're going to chain 2, 1, 2, skip 2, and then do that double crochet, chain 2 and double crochet. You'll chain 2, skip 2, and then do your clusters again, and this is what you should have. So I'll do that to the end of my chain, and I'll get you when you're at the end. So this is what your foundation chain should look like. I'm going to skip 1 and do another cluster, those little V stitches, sorry, 1 and 2, skip 1, and into the last stitch I'm going to do 1 treble crochet. Now if you've got stitches left, just pick them out. You need to finish on the edge of your blanket with 2 of these V stitches and 1 treble crochet, and that keeps it the same as this side over here. It keeps your edges the same. So if you've got extra stitches here, just pick them out, but make sure you finish your little repeat of these, your repeat of this pattern with these 2 V stitches and then 1 treble crochet in the end. So into skip 1 stitch and into my last stitch I'm going to do a treble crochet, and this is what you have, like this. Now the next rows will be a bit easier because you can see where you're going. We're going to be jumping over into these spaces. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Now that counts as your treble crochet. So turn your work around. So into that first set of V stitches, you're going to do another V stitch in there. So yarn over and do 1, 2 treble crochets, go over to the next one and put 2 into the next V stitch. That's 1 and 2. So you're going into the space, and this is what you've got. You're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and you're going to go over to that little cluster that you made into the chain space. We're going to do clusters into here. So yarn over and you're going to do a treble crochet. Keep that stitch on there and do another one. And then you're going to pull through both of those stitches. Chain 1, and into that same space you're going to do that little cluster again. So that's 1 treble crochet, keep the stitch on your hook, yarn over and do another one, and you've got 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and come through the 3 loops, chain 1, and you're going to do 1 more. Keep the stitch on your hook and pull through. You've got 3 loops, yarn over and come through those 3 loops, chain 2, 1, 2. We're going to move over to the V stitches and we're going to put our V stitch into this one. In the space you'll do your 2 treble crochets, move over to the next one and go in between those 2 treble crochets and put another 2 in. Then over to the next one and put your 2 treble crochets in and 2. Now chain 2, 1, 2. Now into this cluster here, we're going to do those little cluster stitches. We're going to do that little cluster fan. The fan is a little cluster. Remember, the fan is a little bit different from these little V-stitch clusters that we're doing here. So into there you're going to do your treble crochet. Now keep the stitch on the hook, remember, yarn over and pull through. Now you've got your 3 loops, come through all your 3 loops, chain 1 and do another little double cluster. So that's 1, keep it on the hook, that's 2, and then chain 1 and put your 3rd one in. And this is what you're going to be repeating, these 2 rows. Now chain 2, 1, 2, and move to your next little V stitches that are here. You're going in between these stitches in here and in between this one and then in between that one. And it's an easy 2 row repeat. Once you get the hang of it, you can see where you're going to put your little chains. So we're going to go over to the next V stitch and put another little V stitch in. So that's 1 and my 2nd treble crochet. I'm going to move over to the next one, no chains in this section. Then move over to that next one. These ones are splitting these ones open. So into this next V stitch here, into the space, not the stitch. Then you're going to chain 2 and move over to your next little cluster, 1, 2. This is the only time you'll be chaining 2, when you move over to that middle one. So keep your stitch on the hook and go in there again. So you're going into the little chain that we made. Remember we did a double crochet, 2 chain and a double crochet, and that's where you're going and making these little clusters, a little cluster fan. Chain 1 and do your next cluster. Keep it on the hook, remember, for the cluster. Chain 1 and put your 3rd cluster in. Through all those loops, chain 2, 1, 2. And then move over to your V stitches again. And then you'll do a cluster fan, you'll do your V stitch ones, and then a fan, and then your V stitch. So when I get to the end, I'll come back and show you what to do. You work along your line of stitches, and this is how it should look. So I'm finishing off my last little cluster fan. I'm going to do the last part of it, keep that on the hook and make that little cluster. Do my chain 2, 1, 2, and move over here. Now I've got 2 V stitches. We're going to do 2 of that little V stitch. That's 1 treble crochet and 2 treble crochets. Over to the next V stitch. Go into the middle of those V stitch, into the space, 1, 2, and then you've got your chain of 3 here. So what you're going to count is 1, 2 and 3 stitches, and you're just going to do a treble crochet here at the end. So the next row you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn your work. So first of all, we've done our treble crochet. We're going to do our V-stitch into the middle of this one. So that's 2 treble crochets, and if you're in the USA, these are double crochets. So do the same into the next one, 1 and 2, into the middle of that little V-stitch. You're going to chain 2, 1, 2. So we're at our little cluster fan, and into the top stitch here, into the top stitch, that stitch right in the middle, you're going to do a double crochet. So into the stitch, it's a double crochet, chain 2, 1, 2, and another double crochet into the stitch. You're not going into the space, you're going into the stitch. You're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then you're going to do your 3 V-stitches. So do a V-stitch in here, that's 2 treble crochets, into the next V-stitch, into the middle, into that space, do your V-stitch, 1 and 2 treble crochets, and 2 treble crochets into the next 1 V-stitch, then you're going to chain 2 because we're going to start and build the next fan. Chain 2, 1, 2, and then in to the stitch at the top of the middle one, you're going to do a double crochet. You're going into the stitch. I'll try and show you that a little bit clearer. Into the stitch and just pull through, chain 2, 1, 2, and then do another double crochet into the stitch at the top. Chain 2, 1, 2, and then you'll move over to your V-stitches. You'll chain 2 and do your double crochet, chain 2 and double crochet into the top of that fan, chain 2 and move over and do 3 new V-stitches. So I'm at the end again, I've done that V-stitch. I'm going to put my 2 treble crochets into the middle of this V-stitch, and 1 treble crochet into the top of that chain of 3. So just 1 treble crochet. I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3 and turn, and I'm going to repeat that fan row, that little cluster fan row. So we're going into this next V-stitch and do a V. You'll always do V-stitches inside these little V-stitches with no chains in these sections. 1 and 2. Now we're going to do the fan section into the top, into that chain of 2 that's there. So you'll chain 2, 1, 2, and go in to there with a treble crochet, keep it on your hook and do the second one of that cluster. Pull through, chain 1 and make another double cluster. Keep that on the hook, yarn over and pull through, chain 1 and do your next cluster. Into chain 2, 1, 2, and move to your next set of V-stitches. You'll do your 3 V-stitches, chain 2, do that fan cluster, chain 2 and do your 3 V-stitches all along, and that's the 2 rows you keep repeating. You'll keep repeating those rows, keep repeating it until you get the blanket to the height that you want it. And to finish off, all you'll just do is when you get to the end, I think I'm at the end with this one, you don't need to do anything to the top. I like the top nice and wavy like that. You'll just cut your yarn off, put the tail through the loop and then pull it, and that'll be that finished. And sew in your ends. Your edges are nice and straight. They're nice and straight, so you don't need to do too much to that. If you want, you can put, where you've got your V-stitches, you can put a little fan down the side, or even just a little round of treble crochets all around it. But I like it the way it is. It's got a nice straight edge at the bottom. The edges are nice and straight. Just make sure that you count 1, 2, 3 and go into the third stitch in that chain at the end of your round. So you'll just follow that fan round and then follow the chain round with the double crochets down there. If you need to watch the video again, then just rewind it. You just need to keep rewinding it. It's only a 2-row repeat. Once you get it into your head, you'll be fine with it. And it's lovely in a variegated yarn. It's really pretty. If you look at this one, most of it is white, so it's really pretty in one colour as well. Down here you've got mostly pink, where in here you've got several different colours, so it doesn't matter what yarn you use for this, it'll be really, really pretty, and I think you're going to like it. So give it a try. Get your hook, get your yarn and follow along. Once you get past that foundation row, you will be fine with it. Then it's just a 2-row repeat, just that fan row and that little double crochet with the chain, and then your fan row, then your double crochet with the chain on there. Really easy. So thank you very much for watching, and to you, Owen, my nephew Owen, he's just a really young lad, and thank you so much for supporting my channel. Remember, you don't need to leave school before you can get onto YouTube. You can do it long before then. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, be like Owen and subscribe to my channel. And if you click on the bell icon, YouTube will tell you when I put up another tutorial. So until the next time, thank you very much for watching. Happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.